Hey guys, this is James from TeaDB, bringing you InBetweenIsode number 47. So today I'm doing another comparison episode in the morning. This is a Saturday morning here in Seattle in September. Still a little bit sunny. So today I am reviewing a sample that has been sitting on my shelf a while that was kindly provided by David of Essence of Tea, the 2014 Yunyun. And he actually pressed, I think, a couple teas from the same village, which is supposedly in northwest Menghai County, one of which has been released, the Yunya. So I actually find them to be fairly different teas from the same village. I don't think they're from the same farmer or anything like that. But yeah. I am about one steep in just so I could kind of get the feel for both of them. I've had them both a couple times at this point, but let's get going. So on my left here is the Yunyun. Leaves are a little bit darker, and this is of course a 2014 versus the 2015 Yunya. So I've already given this one rinse and one steep off camera. So especially in the aroma, you can start to taste past it a little bit now, but it's still dominated by a lot of smoke, and that's kind of how the sample baggie smelled when you opened it or when you first poured hot water on it. A little bit smoky. I think we'll probably be able to smell a little bit past that in the next infusion, because I feel like I'm starting to smell sort of remnants of more generic Menghai County flavors like hay, hay and graininess and stuff like that. But smoke is still the predominant smell. So now I'm pouring water on the 2015 Yunya. And this was also a sample kindly provided by David. Thank you. Alright, so comparing the aroma. So there's absolutely no smoke in this tea. And it's actually a very pleasant, sort of sweet, a little bit floral. A little bit of sugar cane, maybe, something like that. Really pleasant aroma there. And so, again, this is the Yunyun. Cheers, guys. So there's a little bit of smoke and bitterness. The tea itself has pretty good thickness. I would guess that the smoke, this tea is not overly dominated by smoke, as are some teas that I've had recently. So I think the smoke will probably dissipate with years, and I think the description alludes to something similar. Keep drinking. So the base of this is really dense, really solid. I think that's probably the primary attribute of the tea right now. I think it's definitely a tea that would probably, the smoke would go away and would probably continue to improve over the years. It's got just sort of like the density there, I would say. Let's see. In terms of aftertaste, most of it's in the mouth. I notice a little bit sort of like at the back of the mouth towards the throat, but we will move on to the Yunya. So in terms of aroma, currently, right now, the Yunya easily has the Yunyun beat. It was also more recently pressed, so it's not entirely a fair comparison, but in terms of smoke, which I don't consider to be a huge plus or minus in the long term, but the aroma of the Yunyun is, as I've said before, dominated by the smoke. So I would say, in terms of taste, this is a little bit higher, a little bit sweeter. It still is starting to thicken up. Both of the second infusions that I'm drinking right now on camera were considerably thicker than the first infusion I had a little bit ago. So, that's more or less what I would expect for both of these teas. The bitterness is a little bit lighter in the Yunya. Still a good deal of smoke in there. Yeah, and the Yunya has a very nice, lively taste to it. And really, the thing that I'm noticing more, now that I'm comparing it directly like this, is it's a little bit just like higher. It's not as bassy or as low as the Yunyun, for instance. And I believe both teas sell for approximately the same cost per gram if you were to buy cakes. I think the Yunyun is a 200 grammer and the Yunya is 250. The aroma in the Yunya is really, really nice. It's like dense, it's strong, a little bit of nuttiness getting into it, floral, very pleasant aroma. I would be curious to see how the Yunyun from this year compares to the Yunya, especially if they were able to reduce the amount of smoke, which I believe is just from the wok when they're processing the tea. Cheers. So the front of it, still smoke, and then it sort of moves to more hay, grain flavors. Continues to be dense. The bitterness, I think, has actually backed off a little bit on this infusion. I also gave it a flash infusion. I bet if I steeped it for a few seconds longer, it'd be more in this cup. Cheers. Well, I would say in terms of drinkability now, it's really no question. For me, I vastly prefer the Yunya to drink now. And that's not to say that the Yunyun could improve in the future. I think it definitely has sort of like the base, the bitterness, the characteristics from what I understand would continue to do well and develop over the years. But really, what's interesting to me is that when you compare these teas, some of the differences, like when I first had the Yunya, I had been drinking a lot of Mungsong teas that are a little bit lighter in bitterness than both of these. So I was struck. I was like, oh wow, this tea has a lot of bitterness going on. But now when I'm to compare these two, in comparison, the Yunya has a lot less of that. And that's not to say it's not present. But whenever you're doing these comparisons, the difference of them will just be more and more emphasized. So that's definitely something to note when you're doing these. Compare it versus similar teas, compare it versus different teas, and you'll probably learn different things about the tea each time. Really solid, steady soup. both of these. And I'll be clear, I like both of these teas, and both of them go for a good many infusions. I would say, just off memory, maybe at least 12, probably 12 to 15 infusions each. So I'm pushing this a little bit. The water has also been recently reheated, so I would guess that this brew might be a little bit bitter. We'll find out. So I'm trying to give both teas fairly similar infusion times. Maybe a hint of citrus in that aroma there, or acid or something like that. I would say the aroma on the Yunyun is more lower, more of your generic one. And I honestly think that that might be what I would pick if I was planning on aging these for the super long term. In terms of leaf color, and I noticed this when they're dry, and I wasn't sure if it would maintain that, but the leaf on the Yunyun is considerably darker than the leaf on the Yunya, and I'll have to remember to get you guys some close-ups at the end of this to show you. But surprisingly different color on those. Cheers. So most of the smoke is pretty much gone. It's more of a minor attribute of the tea now. There's a good steady bitterness to it. It has good staying power. I find that especially towards the back of the mouth and maybe at the top of the throat. This is not like a super throaty, chesty tea where I notice it there, but it's very, very enduring, I should say, in the mouth, back of the mouth especially. I'm getting thirsty. I'm starting to sweat a little bit. Cheers. Higher, more lively, has kind of been the theme throughout. Really quite tasty. Sweeter. The bitterness is just a lot less for this tea. I think it still has some bitterness, and I think this tea would still probably do pretty well with age. But this is, I enjoy both of these a good deal. A lot of these young Bulong teas, or I guess these aren't Bulong, but young Menghai County teas can be really sort of unpalatable for me when they're really young. Both of these teas are completely drinkable. I think the Yunyun in particular is a great candidate to improve, especially as it gets rid of the smoke, and just because it has, I feel like, a lot of content there that will probably come out more with time. So thank you guys for watching this sort of early morning in-between-isode for me. Hope you guys enjoyed it, as you get to see me wake up to these two teas from Essence of Tea. Neither one has irritated my stomach particularly, so I consider that to be a major plus as well. And thank you guys for watching, and thank you, David. And my apologies for the slow reviewing of the Yunyun in particular. Cheers.